Hi guys, this is Chloe Hudson with World Peace Projects. So sorry, I am still trying to figure out the live text. So just telling everybody to hop over from the video that's posted right now to be airing at this time. And I hope you're doing great. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that video while you guys are coming in, as to not confuse everyone. And I hope that everything is wonderful in your worlds. So many changes. New moon coming up. I think it's going to be a pretty powerful one. Thanks for popping in. Hi, Karen. I love beagles. What a great name. Hello. And then hopefully Christiana will make their way over here. Thanks. Perfect. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Sorry, I still don't understand how the software works. So I have to use my webcam, which limits my abilities on this. Okay, so I made a bit of an addendum for today. And, again, feel free to ask any questions you want. I'm going to kind of keep it on theme a little bit with what I'm covering, because I'm only going to plan to be on here for about an hour. Hi, Christiana. And today I want to talk about what's going on with FEMA and the Constitution. So a gentleman named Jorg asked what I meant about strategizing in my last video. And I kind of wanted to just talk a bit about that and review what I'm talking about in regard to strategy, because right now I feel it's super important for us to be strategic. Action is required. Very, very important. And while we're talking, I'm also going to pull up the current petition that's going around that I would love everybody to sign. If you haven't signed it, that is appealing to, I think, the federal courts against Bill and Melinda Gates for crimes against humanity. And one petition that was started, my friend just told me, I think it was on choice.com or choice.org. You pay actually to start the petition. They had signed it, paid, and then the petition was deleted. So hopefully this one won't be deleted. There are already, when I looked yesterday, there was already over 350,000 signatures, I believe. I don't see why that can't get well into the millions. So please, 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 once I find this, send it around. Ask everybody to sign it so we can really get those numbers boosted. I believe right now the only reason that the petition doesn't have more numbers is because people don't know it's out there, not because they don't want to sign it. I truly believe that everybody, not everybody, but many people would sign this petition, in my opinion. So I'm going to give you the link right now. And if you want to just grab that, sign it, send it around. Yes, thank you, Karen. It was probably change.org, though this one is not change.org. This one is petitions.whitehouse.gov. Okay, so there's that, and I'll just keep kind of reposting it as we go on and talking about it. So that's very important. So I'm going to refer to my notes here, and I'm going to read you a little excerpt. For anybody who hasn't signed up for my e-newsletter, please pop over to worldpeaceprojects.global and sign up for my free e-newsletter, because I usually weekly or bi-monthly, I send out this e-newsletter and I always write up an article, and I try to make it as comprehensive as possible on whatever real time, pardon the buzzer is going to go off for a second on the dryer, whatever real time, experience is happening in our world, it's current events. So the article that's going to go out today has to do with exactly this, the executive orders and how and why the Constitution has been suspended. So President Trump signed many, many executive orders since he's been in office. Now, on January 31st, he issued 2 national emergency declarations. One was the Stafford Act. The other one is the National Emergency Act, okay? And on March 13th, he invoked emergency powers via executive order under the Defense Production Act. Okay, so now what this does, and there's some fabulous videos out there about this, is activating the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which is FEMA, through the state of emergency that he declared. The executive order of 11921 allows the Federal Emergency Preparedness Agency, which is FEMA, to develop plans to establish control over the mechanisms of production and distribution of energy sources, wages, salaries, credit, and the flow of money in the U.S. financial institution in any undefined national emergency. Now, when President Trump declares a state of emergency, Congress cannot review this action for up to 6 months, okay? FEMA was created in a series of executive orders which started back in the day with the Richard Nixon administration. When the presidential executive order, whether it's constitutional or not, is declared, it becomes law simply by its publication in the Federal Registry, and Congress is bypassed, which is what's happening right now. So what we're experiencing is a suspension of our Constitution. Now, there's a fabulous video out right now, and I'm also going to try to find this while I'm on here and share it with you, which shows some video recordings of one was unfortunately already deleted. YouTube's gotten so quick at it. And I think that the woman who created the video, and I'll give her name in just a second, has reposted it already on her BitChute account. Let me just find her for you. And that's Dana Ashlie. So Dana Ashlie, if you go onto her channel, and I'll go ahead and give you her name. Her last name is spelled differently. Sorry, I'm just kind of popping around here on the internet while I talk with you guys to grab this stuff. Okay, so yeah, thank you. I love beagles. Dana Ashlie, her YouTube channel offered a video that already got taken down, so you might have to go to her BitChute, where she's got video of all around the world. People have sent her video. What they're not showing us is happening in different countries. And then there's a second video that was so succinctly done. I really appreciated it, which I'm going to share it in just a second once I grab it, where it shows you the different scenarios of you know, and you know that we all decode this stuff, right? So this video is basically a decode what I'm doing right now, okay, of you being able to see how Trump has basically pulled out of his ranking power, has given it to FEMA now. The Constitution is suspended, and through the different videos in these situations where people are being warned and or detained by police officers in the US, and the cops are saying to these people, you do not have the right to be here. And then someone will state, I do have the right, it's in the Constitution. And they're saying you no longer have the right. Now, in these videos, they don't go into, what do you mean I no longer have the right? But what the police are telling these people is you don't have the right anymore because the Constitution has been suspended. So the rights under the Constitution are no longer yours. They're no longer activated. So this is huge, okay? So some of the executive orders, I just want to read off, and I don't want to say this to scare everybody, but this is scary stuff. So of course it's going to trigger fear in some of us, but we need to know these things, okay? We need to understand what's happening. So Also, please let me know if this video starts buffering. Okay, so because what's happening when this video buffers is YouTube is doing real-time editing out of the information I'm speaking about. When I say certain keywords, they go in and they buffer it. And whatever I've said while they're buffering, they're deleting out. So let me know if it starts buffering so that I can change my verbiage to try to bypass the keywords, okay? So, you know, at this point, I would assume that most of us on this channel understand that the CV, you know, the crown poison is, what was the one that one of you guys said? The pandemic of mass distraction. I really like that one. I was calling it a scandemic, but I think the pandemic of mass distraction is a much more succinct term. So this pandemic of mass distraction is an implementation of phase 2 of possibly 3 phases. Now, George Leone of Sovereign Key did a great video on this. It was published, I believe, today or yesterday. As most of you know, he's a phenomenal decoder. And he speaks of how the events at the in New York City with 9/11 was phase 1. Okay, fire ritual, starting the initial experience of the mass population being able to know that the pandemic is happening. Okay, fire ritual, phase 1. This pandemic, phase 2, okay? There will be a phase 3. So this comes into play where they push this agenda on us, and I'm just gonna read to you a little piece of the article that I'm writing to help you understand. And this is really the only piece I'm gonna say around the CV, because we've talked about that so much. I think most of us here understand that this is a mock-up. It's not a real, you know, CV as they're calling it. And I just want to give some validity behind that beyond tons and tons and tons of information that we've all talked about already and we can already gather. So Dana Ashlie, in the video that was already taken down, what she went into is she started explaining the publication by the Rockefeller Foundation called, and tell me if it starts buffering here, Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development. Okay, so this was a publication that was put out by the Rockefeller Foundation over a decade ago. And this lays out the whole plan, okay? Now, in this scenario, they talk about something called the Lockstep Program. So the Lockstep Program is a top-down implementation that and this is verbatim, okay? The Lockstep Program is a top-down implementation that quarantines and restricts in-person contact, okay? Verbatim. It introduces the idea of intermittent trade strategy restrictions through pathogen controls, okay? So if we know where to look, we find the information written out clear as day, okay? They say lockstep in a world of tighter takedown, government control, and more authoritarian leadership with limited innovation in growing citizen pushback. Okay, so this lays out, as per the Rockefeller Foundation. Now, I'm just going to go over a couple of the executive orders that are currently out right now, okay? So, Executive Order 10997, the seizure of all electric power, fuels, and minerals, public and private. Executive Order 10999 activates the seizure of all means of transportation, including personal trucks, personal cars, trucks or vehicles of any kind, in total control of highways, seaports, and waterways. Okay? Executive Order 11003 imposes the seizure of all airports and aircrafts. Executive Order 11001 implements the seizure of all health, education, and welfare facilities, public and private. Executive Order 11000, this one's important, implements the seizure of all American people for workforces under federal supervision, including the splitting of families and the government, and when the government finds it necessary, for seizure of all housing, and finance authorities to establish forced relocation and designate areas to be abandoned as unsafe. Okay. That's Executive Order 11000. Just going to go back to the video to make sure you guys aren't telling me it's buffering. Crap. I don't know what part it buffered at, Tracy. Okay, so what I was just talking about is, and I'll type it here, so grab this real quick before they delete it, okay? This is the one I want you to see. We'll start calling, if they're buffering executive order, we're going to start calling it EO. Okay? So I'm just going to type that just in case they're going to buffer that out. Give me just a second, guys, because it only lets me type in so much at a time. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so Tali, you didn't get any buffering. So hopefully, Tracy, your Wi-Fi is just slower. We'll find out, I guess. Okay, so again, please sign up for my e-newsletter, worldpeaceprojects.global. I'm going to publish this article today. It's going to go out today. So go to my website, sign up for the free e-newsletter if you want to get the whole write-up. I'm not going to read it here, but it gives you most of the executive orders that address FEMA, okay? So now, FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, right? Now, the whole point of this is to implement Agenda 21, okay? Now, we've talked about a little bit, Agenda 21 and Agenda 30. So Agenda 21, which is, put under the guise of sustainable development. That's the title, right? Official title is the Agenda for the 21st Century by the United Nations. So guys, be very aware of the UN. They are some bad mamma jammas, okay? The Paris Climate Accord is also Agenda 21. Now, currently, there are at least 179 of the 195 nations of our world that have agreed to Agenda 21. Now, these are just the documented ones. It's believed that every nation has been forced into this agreement, and this is an agreement. This is not a treaty. Many nations believe it's a treaty. It's an agreement, okay? So what this agenda implements is it's an inventory and control plan of all humans, plants, animals, water, land, minerals, construction, means of production, food, and energy. Okay, essentially this agreement moves all populations into city centers and it clears them out of rural areas. This agreement is built upon 3 overlapping circles of economy, ecology, and social equity. The center point where these circles overlap is the balance, but they term this the balance. It's actually a communitarian balance, which means a corporate balance. This is not a balance of human rights, okay? And a expert, basically, in this field, I'm gonna post that right now. Let me grab her channel, or her video that has been created. I just want to grab her name so I say it properly real quick. And currently the only thing keeping, Agenda 21 has been moving forward, but this woman has gone to Supreme Court against Agenda 21. And it was basically the only action in place to effort to stop it in any kind of efficient capacity. Okay, her name is I don't know if she pronounced it Rosa Coeur or Rosa Couir. I'm going to copy the YouTube though and give it to you guys right now because this is another very important video to have. Okay, here you go. So she is, on the up and up around this information. Another fabulous woman to check out is, and I'll try to find her real quick, Deborah Tavares. Now, just a heads up on Deborah because she has tons of information. Okay, she's really on her stuff when it comes to the proof that is desired around, how all of these federal in governmental bodies, these public, apparently, administrations are actually private corp. She's done the research. Her website and her groupings have done a ton of work and a lot to try to stop what's going on. Though you'll notice, and of course, because diving into the world of this, her website is stopthecrime.net. So somebody who does what she does and is constantly researching this stuff, she's going to read a lot of things that are very scary. So that comes across in some of her videos, right? So just be aware of that, because if you get triggered on any of this stuff, it's really important to back up, take in what you can, only integrate what you feel that you, only listen to what you feel you need. Give yourself the time to integrate, okay? It's really, really important. Now, Deborah Tavares is in Santa Rosa, California. And I used to live in Santa Rosa, California. And many of you know that they had the horrific fires in Sonoma County. They've had at least 2 rounds of them. And she has proven, it's Deborah Tavares, and I'm going to give you her name real quick. She has proven that this, again, is a fire ritual. She found the bonds that were taken out. The city actually put up a bond, I think it was, against the people to create these horrific fires. So she's a wealth of information on this stuff too, okay? Now, I'm just going to pause to read you guys' comments because I've been talking a bit. Okay, so now when I talk about being strategic, there's a few things that we need to be very aware. So one, which is possibly inevitable at this point, is rioting. Okay, it's already starting in certain countries. As you've seen, if you see the video that Dana Ashlie put out, she got some really great videos around the world. She got video in India. She got video in Dubai. She has video in South Africa. She has, of course, video in US and in Belgium. And people are angry. So it's going to happen that people will take to the streets, they'll get angry. That type of pushback, while we know that that's coming and it's already starting to happen, that is what we don't want, okay? We do not want to give the controllers, to give FEMA, to give the military, to give the police, the National Guard, if they are implemented. Because another thing that one of the executive orders does is it gives the National Guard more power to shut down the borders, not just to come in and give food and supplies and stuff. It gives them more power to implement the control. We don't want to validate and give this effort more fuel that lets them feel entitled and move forward with their plan to move into martial law. This is where the strategy comes in. Right now, it's very, very important to become aware of what's happened, Work to clear the trauma, work to clear the pain, work to clear the fear. Stay in your strength, activate your sovereignty, understand your self-sovereignty and your governance, and know that when it's time to implement strategic rallying, strategic implementation, we will do it in our sovereignty and we will do it in our peace. We do not need to do it in our anger and in violence. We have to be very, very strategic, okay? That's what I mean by this. Strategic moves that we can take. Sign this petition against Bill and Melinda Gates. Do things like this. Get the awareness out there, withdrawing the fear-mongering and giving clear information, okay? Now, it is amazing how many people still believe that this is, a contagion, that wearing a mask and gloves is somehow going to stop or slow down or limit it, right? So the Cosmic Agency put out a video recently where the Taigetans, the alleged Taigetans that she's speaking with, say that from their research, they're seeing that this is actually nanodust, okay? Now, that's really, I resonate with that very, very much. It makes sense. And I'm going to give my piece of why that resonates for me. We all have to take what works for us, leave the rest, okay? So what they were saying is what they're seeing is that the nanotechnology, the nanodust, the nanoparticles that have been implemented through the geoengineering into our water, into our foods, and absolutely are in the vaccinations, they're already in the bodies. They're already taken in the bodies, especially people who have been getting the flu vaccine year after year after year. So when the 5G technologies activate in the certain areas or the cities, the nanotech are like nano satellites in the body. The 5G activates the satellites. So if we look at what happens with Morgellons disease, if you guys have ever heard of this, I pronounce it Morgellons, some say Morgellons. Morgellons disease is an experience where people who have nanotech in their body and their body is working to fight it off, but starts to treat it, of course, as a foreign entity, and the body starts to attack itself, right? Like autoimmune is how it experiences it. It presents itself very akin to like Lyme disease and these types of diseases. So what's happening is that when people have Morgellons, their body's reacting in a very different way with the nanotech. The body's working to fight it off and release it. But those who have been dealing with Morgellons know that it's not, most of them, if they're doing the research around it, that it's not a natural phenomena. You can actually see the nanotech light up. There is very easy implementations where you can watch the technology light up in their body like mini satellites. So the nanotech lights up like a satellite, and then they kind of hone and beacon together. They work to find each other and network to create a larger satellite within the body, within the communication. And then the 5G tech activates satellites, triggers it, makes them sick. So that's what's happening, okay? So, and let's be clear here. In the USA, many countries have been dealing with geoengineering for a long time. So a lot of us have this nasty stuff inside of us. I know I do, right? So this is time to double down, as we talked about, on the heavy metal detox. All the things you can do, again, as fast as you can, because I don't know how long it's going to be available, though I know you can make it. MMS, I said it wrong last time. Last time I said MSM, which is still good for you, but it's not the one I was trying to say. MMS, hyaluronic acid, DMSO, all of these, get these, in your cabinets, start taking them. Make sure you do your research on them. You need to know what's healthy for you, whatever situations you've got going on in your personal life with your personal health. Though, if you find it suitable for you to ingest these, start yourself on daily implementations. If it's going to work for you, I am not a health practitioner, of MMS, hyaluronic acid, DMSO. These are all solvents. They all work to purge this out of you. Something that you absolutely need to do a lot of research around. I just heard of this. I have not done research around it, but I found it intriguing, so I'm just going to mention it here, okay? I just had a friend tell me that she studied under a woman who used turpentine. And I was like, turpentine? That's like a paint thinner. Well, so is DMSO, really. It's a solvent. You have to be careful. But she said that from what she researched, and I have not researched this, do your own research. Turpentine is oil of pine, okay? So what she was talking about is the woman that she learned under used to put the turpentine on a sugar cube and take it because the sugar would draw out the candida and then the turpentine would attack it. That was very interesting to hear. Again, do your research. But things like this, let's start chelation practices. At the very least, eat mass amounts of cilantro and parsley. You can take 3 bundles of parsley or cilantro and put it in like a huge gallon of water, leave it for 24 hours. It turns into this like kind of gelatinous-y liquid. Tastes like parsley water. Drink that every day. Things like this, very important. Ruby Gold Live, the petition, I'll repost it again. I'm just going to keep kind of randomly posting it on here because as the feed goes up. Okay. Great. So Tracy says, people are talking about revolution and taking physical action, mainly the young. I tell they basically what you're saying when I can't. Great. Telling the youth, that's fabulous. And if you're a parent and your child is getting passionate about this, please give them warning about the importance of being strategic. It's very, very important. Bobbert says EDTA is a chelation agent. So let's all do our research on that. I'm going to grab that so I can look it up. EDTA. So these are the types of things we need to start. Comedic truth. Your Metallica records may be a danger to the environment. I'm sure that they have been called an abomination to society by many. Okay, so cilantro and parsley, yes. Okay, great. Anything else I want to, let's see. Okay, comedic truths. Next, they'll sell advertising on the nanotech on the body. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people are already getting chipped, right? I keep hearing about in Sweden how people are getting, they're, allowing themselves to get chipped so they have more access, right? Convenience. Convenience is a soul seller. Okay, I'm going to get to my list. So, another thing that we reviewed a little bit when we did the Q&A group that I did with Lauda Leon, the 2 different paid groups, the private groups I did. We talked about the ships in the sky. So there are so many ships in the sky, you guys. It's amazing. I'm going to try to find the channel for you. Again, that has the ships in the sky, because I want you to see these. And there is one video right now that came out by this channel that is, you talk about a huge ship. And I'm very interested to know which type of ship it is, because this thing is massive. So let's see if I can find this video for you. And so the date markers of these ships too are in alignment with a lot of these different big So for example, there's a ship that I believe you watched come in March 13, which is also the day that the the state of emergency was declared in the US. And so you kind of you can watch the timeline, you can watch the battling happening. You can literally see the battling happening in these videos. So it's very important to know that this is absolutely playing out for our entire solar system, right? Because we know, people like you and me know that this isn't about a global affair, okay? This is about the regressive races. This is about the covens. This is about the Drox. This is about the Borg. This is about these beings that have come in and can convince the peons, the earthling peons, that they can have more control, more power, okay? One of the executive orders that Trump reinstated had to do with the moon. So we know about the space program, right? The space control. He wants the space police. Okay. So another thing that they're moving forward on is implementing different ways in which they want to enforce. I don't know how they're going to do this. I'm really intrigued by this. They're going to enforce law around the moon, the sun, and other celestial bodies. And what this executive order talks about, it buffered on the word global affair. Oh, I bet you they buffered out the DRAAK. Let's just type it here. Okay. Talking about the regressive races and the Luna, we'll call it Luna program, as it's buffering on that. Okay. So, and y'all be careful what you type as well around there, because they hold messages with keywords. So also use your own coding. And this might be a great time to just share that many of us are going to work to transition to BitChute, and implementing different platforms, the use of different platforms that aren't doing things like this, where they're really pushing, taking away our freedom of speech, okay? So minds.com, MINDS, is an ethical social media platform that I would like to start using for us to have a better group forum, okay? Reiki on the Run, they held your comment where you just said, I just signed up last week for BitChute. They can hold y'all's comments, or they delete them before I can even see them if you say certain things. So, and please do filter your comments, because I don't want to get more flagged than I already am. I have to be careful with this type of platform. You know, if the least that they're doing is buffering this video, that's great, because there's, you know, if we all look at what happened with Mr. D. Ike, his entire channel got deleted off of Vimeo. So there you go. That's one way in which we can blatantly see how the Constitution is being suspended. The freedom of speech is being taken away right now. Okay, so let me get back to what I was going. Comedic truth. I want to say that, but they just buffered the regressive races that I talked about. So I'll type some here. We'll see if this will hold. Okay. Though my point being is that, you know, this isn't just a global ordeal. Okay. This is a universal ordeal. Okay. This is a much, much bigger agenda that's playing out throughout the celestial bodies that we're seeing on a micro experience. June 12, you say inalienable liberties are never suspended. Well, I'll tell you, are you speaking about our self-governance or sovereignty? Because the U.S. Constitution is now suspended. Our president is now just a placeholder. Okay, FEMA rules the law of the land right now. So the UN is directed, and I'm sure the reason it exists is because of these regressive races gave them the idea to create this platform to bring all nations together in agreement, as per the Agenda 21, Agenda 30 agreement that we're seeing rolling out now. So we talked about the nanodust, talking about the ships in the sky. One thing I want to mention, I currently am subscribed to Netflix. I no longer support Amazon. I hope I don't have to order through them ever again. Some things may be more important to me than not supporting them. For example, if the only place I can get MMS is persona non grata, they deleted that. Please be careful what you say. Certain comments, I don't want to flag my channel. So please be careful. I just wanted to reread what he. Okay, so yes, I Love Beagle says nanodust equals zombie sparkles. Exactly. That's a good one. Zombie sparkles. Is that one buffering when I say nanodust? That'll be interesting. It's already doing that one. June 12th, you can just think about any keywords that are on this truth train might be, flagged. Unfortunately, we're going to have to create our own language. Okay, thank you, Super Cal. So, okay, get back to my point. Now, what I was saying is if the only place I can get MMS at this time is Amazon, I'll order it. Though, I don't want to support Amazon anymore. I don't want to support the GOOGLE anymore. I don't want to support Microsoft. I don't want to support Facebook. I don't want to, all of these big players that are basically we're selling our souls to, right? They're all in it together. They're taking it to the extremes. So these are the types of things that we're way past go time to start looking at what we're using for convenience, and because they're just the bigger umbrella platforms that are really coming together as the 0.01% that is taking control of the world. If we all start to withdraw out of these platforms, it's gonna make a dent. It's gonna speak volumes, okay? So that's really important to start to think about, okay? I am encrypting everything. I'm going to go so far as utilizing servers for my videos and my website that are protected and encrypted. Start to pull, and also not just to make a point, but because, when this starts ramping up and they can easily shut down your Google account, they can do whatever they want. You have an alternative, right? You have a way around it. It's important to think about. So my point is that Amazon Prime, right? If you're using Amazon Prime, I bet you they're doing this. Let me know. Some of y'all are probably using Amazon Prime or using Amazon Prime and Netflix to watch your videos at night and things like this. Netflix is doing massive handling right now around predictive programming. They've taken off. First of all, they took off the documentary around vaccinations, okay? And they're pushing so much predictive programming around Armageddon, around pandemic, around all of the sci-fi movies and shows that show you the timeline that the controllers want, okay? So there are so many videos and movies right now that are gory. They're what I like to call death culture. They promote a lot of violent death culture. So if you're watching a lot of that, be careful, right? Are you watching a lot of things that are like the predictive programming of what is to come in the future that takes away your freedoms? I think what movie was it something called like Now Player One or something, where it's this world where they're all in virtual reality and they've basically checked out of their world and they just live this virtual reality world. They want you to watch this stuff, okay? They want us to take that in and make it more familiar and susceptible to how it's going to be. So that moves into our consciousness, so it's familiar. They build and piggyback on our mass consciousness. Very soon, I'm going to start a program around deprogramming. Ironic, program around deprogramming. So I'll be launching my subscription platform very soon. And what I'd like to do is start offering classes, and it'll have beginner and intermediate levels, and then I'll work with Lado Leon on advanced levels, okay? To start deprogramming, withdrawing from mind control, understanding how this is implemented and how you can start to extricate yourself from it more and more. And hopefully it will offer those of you who are already doing it. And if anybody who's on there is already doing this, anybody who watches my channel or any channels like this, you're already working, obviously, to deprogram self. And we need more support around this, okay? Exactly, Ivo, it's a deprogram. I'll be offering a deprogram. So just to let you know that that's soon to come, because it's really important. This is something that needs to be our everyday. Okay, so let me get back to my notes real quick. So please take care around what you're watching. And I know that right now it's difficult, especially when you're in places where maybe you're not even allowed to go outside or walk around the block or something. Though we have to get away from our technology, you guys. This is a forced technological revolution, okay? 2020 to 2030 presents an unprecedented astrological, technological revolution. No matter what, this is what's happening. This is what's playing out in our astrology. They are working to handle it in the way that they want. You must give your body, you must give your circadian rhythm, you must give your biofeedback, your dielectric magnetic frequency a break from the technology, from the Wi-Fi's, okay? Go outside, get barefoot, get in earth, take a bath, read a book, please. Stick your hands in flour, I don't care. Do more nature-oriented things, especially now. And I know it's difficult. I was talking to a client the other day. I know right now the energy is like sludge, okay? The density is so much thicker. The mass consciousness energetic depression is palpable. So it's more difficult to be fluid, you know? Water runs smoothly, sludge, muck runs thick and slow. So I know that it's more difficult, it takes more discipline, and maybe we can't do as much as we could before, though effort. It's really important to implement what we can to assist ourselves to get back to good health. Even if you need to sit by your window for 10 more minutes a day and get more sun, do it, please. Ricky Spanish says, when I cry, there is a mechanical clicking coming from just under the bottom of my left rib cage. Ricky, in the front or the back of your rib cage? The front body or the back body? That's an interesting one. Irene says, yes, I agree. Play in dirt. Yes, play in the dirt, guys. Roll around. I was so excited that here I'm allowed to go out and walk, and it's really pretty, and I'm very grateful for this. But people don't necessarily want you to like go up to their dogs, so I'm just like dog gazing. And this younger couple yesterday let this American Bulldog puppy run up to me, and this thing just like knew. It just ran up to me and jumped in my lap and like let me just snuggle it. It was the sweetest, most wonderful thing. And I was so grateful to this little pooch for coming up to me, and that just filled my world for that 10 minutes. So things like this, get creative right now. Slow it down. Jacques Cousteau said that the the killer of observation is speed, right? Um, not all of us have the blessing to be able to go out right now and go free diving or snorkeling like Jacques Cousteau, though we can slow it down. I was walking yesterday in the park and there was this mass pile of little sugar ants. I don't know what they were eating, but there were so many of them. And I just stopped and like looked down at my feet for 10 minutes because it was amazing to watch how quick and how many. There's like thousands. Get yourself into a state of wonderment, I like to call it, like Winnie the Pooh. A fabulous book, if you haven't read it, super short read. It's called The Tao of Pooh, okay? Piglet says, "What day is it, Pooh?" Pooh says, "Why, it's today." And Piglet says, "That's my favorite day." It's stuff like this. Like, get into this state of wonderment. Slow down. Watch a fly. Look at their eyes. Look how cool that is. Watch the light glisten off their wings and notice that it's rainbow iridescent. Start to notice things. There is something to be grateful for in everything. And right now, it's so obvious how many things we've been taking for granted. And at the same time, look at how many things we're still taking for granted, okay? So please honor and be grateful for what you have. I had a friend who went through a horrific experience, and I just knew that about her. We were navigating our day, and I said something like, I was Eeyoring. "Oh, my house blew down again. Nobody loves me." And I said, "Well, at least it can't get worse." And she was like, "No, never say that. It can always get worse." And I knew in that moment, because she's gone through things that no one should ever have to go through in their life, that she's like, don't take anything for granted. She wasn't trying to scare me. She was just like, it's really easy to take life for granted. So even right now, even the fact that I get to connect with you guys, I have this amazing community. This is huge. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. And I don't want to take these things for granted. And our gratitudes are what keep our serotonin, what keep our hormones going, what give us the boost that we need, especially right now. So double down on your gratitude practices. It's very, very important. Most of us, even if we have access to this right now, we're so blessed. There are so many people right now, we send them lots of love, though, when they are in horrible, dire situations, especially with the current events. I'm very grateful that I have so much opportunity, and I want to continue to build on that, because that's also what we need. That's another strategy that we have to implement. They want to depress us. They want to drop our frequency. They want the fear mongering. We have to give them equal opposite energy to neutralize, at the very least, of what's being brought, right? So while we have to be authentic to ourselves about our emotional state and process and integrate, we need to show up when we can with the equal opposite of the positivity and the gratitudes, right? Okay, I'll stop preaching. All right, so let me get back to my list. Oh, yes. So I did mention the executive order around the space and moon agreement. That one's an interesting one. So I just bring that up for now. Not that I'm going to dive into that, but that one's a very big tell that this isn't just about our world, right? In that agreement, in that executive order, it is stated that they're working to send more people to Mars and the moon in order to live on the surface and study it. So they're already showing that they know certain things are coming. They know there's going to be a change and a need, to shift the surface populace, which is what we're watching, and transition maybe to other celestial bodies even. So this goes beyond our globe. Now, when it comes to helping others wake up, I don't believe at this time that for those that don't even know that the CV is a farce, that it's wise to go, to jump the gun and bring up the whole regressive race agenda and things like that, really pace it, give them things that are more realistic to chew on and take in and believe first. Give them the baby steps, right? Offer truth when it's desired, and only offer it in docile dosages, right? Because not everybody's going to wake up to this, and all of us know it's very easy for information like this to go off into the conspiracy theory thing. We don't want to lose people. We don't want to ostracize or separate even more, okay? So just take care, when it comes to what you're offering. So another thing I wanted to bring up real quick, let's see. Okay, so the last little topic I'll just touch on. Oh, I did want to talk about that. So something I'm noticing, will you guys give me a thumbs up to help spread my videos further? I'd really appreciate that. Please share, thumbs up, like my stuff. That really supports me. So I don't think this will buffer. We did buffer a little bit when I was listing regressive races, but something that I think is really interesting. Now, we've talked about before hive mind, right? So we understand that this whole transhuman agenda, that might buffer, and implementations of the AI, which, the nanotech is working to push, and implementation of the zombie nations, and moving into hive mind. But another thing that I've been noticing with clients, I think we use hive mind as a general catch-all. I'm perceiving a difference between hive mind, ant mind, and mycelia mind, fungal mind. Okay? Now, these are all, I'll call them collective constructs, collective consciousness constructs, but they're different in their type of consciousness. So it's easy for us to look at hive mind, and we understand that, as many of us have at least observed a beehive. We have seen enough how, the bees work together. They work around the queen to support the queen. Everything that they do is to support the queen, feed the mass, help the hive. They work as one unit. Now, I perceive ant mind and mycelia mind and fungal mind is a different type of consciousness construct, yet all generally working as the whole in the same general way, but they're different. Now, we also know that there's many different regressive races that are trying to get their piece of the pie, right? So while we love to, again, do a blanket statement of hive mind, sorry, Sato, I'm deleting your comment. Please don't comment like that. So we're, hold on, sorry. I think that was trolling because it worked. Pew, pew, pew. Get it out of my space. Okay. So, pardon me. While we tend to generalize the term controllers, there's many different races that are efforting to control, right? They want their own type of, they want their control. They want their piece of the pie. They want their piece, their play. So I think that, exactly, Amanda says turf wars. Right, turf wars. Sky wars is where we're seeing it right now. I perceive it the same with the difference in the hive mind, the fungal mind, the mycelia mind. So when it comes into us starting to study the ways in which we're being mind controlled, the ways we're programmed, and the type of AI and even implants in the body and the way that they process and they function, there's different types of consciousness. So you can start to notice whether you're seeing it through predictive programming and or you're experiencing it in your person. Is it? Start to differentiate, start to specify. Is it hive mind programming? Is it ant mind? Is it, because there's a lot of insectoid influence right now, a lot of the beings coming in right now, especially on the front lines of doing the false thought forms, the holographic inserts, imposing into your fourth density is insectoids, including the zeta, okay? Is it fungal mind? Is it mycelial? There's a difference. So these are some of the things that we'll start to dive into and break down more comprehensively in the deprogrammings that I'll be offering soon. Thank you, Ivo. I like the term. And it's important to understand which is which because we work to reverse engineer it. So when it gets implemented, again, equal opposite to neutralize at the very least. So when we can understand the biology or the functionality, the programming, we can reverse engineer that to assist self and bring back our sovereignty. Okay, so I think that I covered everything I wanted to cover. The last thing I was just going to mention is we've talked about many times before, and I guess it's worth bringing back up because, again, I stated that George Leone on Sovereign Key just did another decoding around Jupiter and Saturn of current events. And he addressed Enki and Enlil, which I found really nice because I tend to focus a lot, as you guys know, on Enki and Enlil. And also one thing that I do notice is that Ninmah doesn't get talked about as much. And I think that that one's important to look at. So when we look at Enki, Enlil, and Ninmah, the Anunnaki gods, right, that have a predominant influence in the colonizing and genetic seeding of our world. Something that I was drawn to talk about today, just a little bit, I'm just going to touch on it because it's a bigger topic that'll open up Pandora's box a bit. But at this time, it's really important for us to get so much more efficient at releasing a lot of our polarity separation experiences. As the playing fields are being evened right now, while we're all moving through this quarantine and shelter in place, whatever your city or state is terming it. A point that was made that I really appreciated, they were speaking, somebody was talking about in terms of like famous people, right? The ones they called the stars, the celestial representations, right, of the theater, the cosmic theater playing out that they love to offer to us on our screens as we watch it, just like the blanket of the firmament in the skies when we watch the stars twinkle. Is now that this is happening, we're all on the same playing field. We're all at home, right? We're all virtual streaming. We're all showing up in the same way. It's that much easier to take away the false illusion of somebody having more importance than somebody else. We're all in our own, separation spaces. That horrible, I don't like this term, but the thing they coined where they're like alone together or separate together or whatever, because that's got its own agenda around it, though we know what they mean by that. So right now I want to address race. Racism has been a huge factor in our history, in our herstory for ever since humanity on this planet has been seeded. Now, why is that? So we can start to understand at this point that racism started before the experience of the earthlings moving into any kind of enslavement and separation consciousness on their own accord. Racism started because of the bloodline wars. Racism started because of the, hold on guys, I got trolls. I'm just gonna get them out of here. reporting you creepers, just so you know, right about now. Okay, reported that one. Give me a second. I'm just gonna report all the creepers up in here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So now it just froze it. That's interesting. It wouldn't let me report that person. It made me delete it. Let's try it one more time. Thanks for your patience, guys. Okay, cool. Got it. Okay. Let's see if there's anybody else. I got that one, Ruby Gold. That's the okay. Let me just double check for any other ones. I don't let this stuff slide at all. I don't like it. Okay, so as I was saying, it started from why didn't it kick that person off the channel? There it is. Okay. The bloodlines that seeded this earth, right, are where our experience, what we term racism, comes from. When we look at the seraphim, when we look at the Elohim, when we look at the Anu, when we look at the reptilian, that's where it started. Okay, so when we look at the Aryan race thing, right, we can look at many of the fallen. We can look at the Elohim and the Seraph implementation. When we look at the Anu, we can look at the black, okay? When we, the reptilian, I feel like it's a different deal. The reptilian kind of seeds in a different way. I don't feel like that has a representative of one of the race groupings in as obvious as a way as like Black people and white people do. I think those are more apparent. But another thing I want to mention real quick, which is really interesting, that I've mentioned before in other of my videos that I sell, is in the course, my Advanced Matrix course, 5-class course series that's for sale, guys. If you guys want to access, that's 12 hours of advanced information on decoding and deprogramming. So hit me up if you're interested in that. Is the late Max Spears, who didn't like being termed, he didn't self-term himself, but he was a super soldier, or he was programmed to be. He speaks about something really obvious once you hear about it and intriguing, is, if we look back to the original seeding of the last round of our planet, we can see that at the very minimum, we had 12-strand DNA, okay? Now, fast forward to now, we see we have 2, right? And they're not even 2 that get along. We got mammalian and we got reptilian. And these 2 are just predominantly opposed in nature, right? They're just conflicting. So there's this innate conflict in our being, in our biology, always because of this. So hold on, guys. Give me a second. Okay. Sorry, just more trolls. So that can show you. You guys light up the violet flame for me real quick. Let's just violet flame space. We'll take back our command. That we've moved forward. We do things. We move through certain polarity and separation consciousness, which is being obliterated right now. In one experience of all of this happening, it's obliterating separation consciousness. That's the natural evolution of this. We've gone through the fall, we're moving to the bottoms, we're on our way back up. And it moves up in density out of certain polarity separation experiences. And so that's one way in which we can see how humans have just gone along with different genetic imprinting to play out scenarios and karmic load and loop cycles of stories that have played over and over and over. Thanks, guys. Love it. Again, so let's notice these things. And let's also be very, very careful. One thing that I find that's a little bit more intermediate to understand and is imperative at this time while we're experiencing these, seemingly dystopian, freedom snatching, fear mongering agendas, we must understand that we are creator beings, right? We know this. We know that this ultimately is a game that we're all a part of. We all have worked to create it, and we're all playing into. Okay. So from a much more vaster, expansive experience, it's important for us to know that, what's interesting about this creeper is this must be a YouTube troll because they're allowed back on. So that's just something to note. Very interesting. Okay. So we work to register that we have opted into creating this inverted matrix. All of us play a role in our larger soul grouping, okay, in more expansive quantum aspects to have implemented the creation of this experience. We have all had different timelines, different soul aspects that have played both sides. When we talk about polarity, not one of us, do I believe by any means, is pure benevolence or pure malevolence, unless you've opted into that through free will at this time, because we're creator beings. We're multifaceted. We're multi-density. We want all experiences. It makes us more well-rounded. So that means that all of us have responsibilities in consciousness and karma around the whole thing. So let's take care when we start getting really livid, really triggered, really victimized, really angry, whatever it is, at the controller beings or the puppets, because one, most of them are the placeholders and the backdrops. They're not even souled beings. They're soulless ones. They're just a program. You're welcome to get mad at it, but it's the same as you getting angry at your computer or your technology. It's just a machine. It's just a functioning program. Okay. So it's often a user issue. Another reason is because the experience of the anti-life regime, the anti-life Nazis, this whole movement, in the polarity experiences, we see both. There's the equal polarity, right? As we move to up level, and the word ascension is a tricky one, but as we move back up into our dimensionality and accessing a higher frequency, it starts to dissolve the polarity, right? Though we have the balance here. So we all have played karmic roles in certain experiences around the polarity game right now and the play out. And what humans are experiencing at this time, while they're absolute crimes against humanity, while they're absolutely imposing upon our freedoms, while they're absolutely overstepping the law, all of these things, and I'm not just saying like constitutional law, federal law. I'm talking about universal law. We are watching and feeling micro experiences of what's been playing out, what we have done to this planet as an entire soul grouping. We have all had our own responsibilities in the mass consciousness piece around how we have hurt and injured and wounded our planet. And the karma is recycling in a certain way. Now, it doesn't have to happen this way, but we need to see how to activate our responsibilities around our sovereignty and us being creator beings. It's very, very important. Okay, so I will just filter through some of the questions now, because I'm going to start wrapping up pretty quick. Okay, cool. So we've proven that it's YouTube actually that's trying to troll. So that's a good validation, guys, just to understand how it's definitely time to start moving away from YouTube. Okay. So Dregger 13, the Order of Nine Angels is a satanic and left-hand path occult group based in the United Kingdom, but with associated groups in various other parts of the world. I don't know who those are. Are you talking about? I've never heard of those. I'm not sure. Will you want to clarify what you're talking about, Dregger? All right. Okay, hold on. Guy is enjoying the break. People in Nepal are seeing the Himalayas from their homes for the first time. Oh my God, that must be gorgeous. I'm sure that's fabulous. Okay. Thank you, Love Light Shining. I invoked the violet flame, the gold flame, the sapphire flame. Beautiful. Okay. Let's see. You guys have any other questions before I sign off? Exactly. June 12 says, I consented to no game of sovereignty relinquishment. We do not consent. That's so imperative. I think I'll go ahead and share that as well on here. Let me find that document for you guys real quick. I know I've shared it several times, the I do not consent document. But I'm going to give that to you guys one more time in case you don't have it. This one I sent to the government, and I think it's a good one to send to any time you have to sign off on something. You know, when you have to give your signature, you're welcome to take this document and edit it in the way in which you find appropriate for you. And as I had stated before, this type of thing, I'm just going to start, it's going to be like an addendum to my signature. That's also something else I'm going to do, guys, very soon is I'm going to do a lot more research. We talked about this in the private Q&A group around the Black law, which is litigation law, what we use in the US court systems, how to actually sign legally and how to legally redact. Okay, so these types of things are very important to know how to do so that we are aware, when they're working to overwrite our sovereignty, we have our chess move in play in a way that meets them and neutralizes that energetics in the legal strategy. So as soon as that pops up, I will share that with you guys. Okay. And yes, Black law operating language, exactly. My pleasure. Thank you guys for joining. I so appreciate you. Um, okay, that's so interesting. So it's the document doesn't want to share, it's just buffering. So I will try to beat the game here, and I will go on to where I shared it in another place and give it to you from there. Okay. Um, and you guys are also welcome to share with me any questions you might have or videos that you are interested in knowing more about. I'm always happy to take your suggestions. Thank you so much for all of your support. And if I haven't been able to get back to your comments and comment back to you, I really appreciate, especially the last video. I know you guys, a lot of you sent me really loving comments when I shared that I was having some struggles last week. I really appreciated your support. It helped me tremendously. So I'm really grateful for all that you guys offer me as well. Okay, so I'm just trying to find this. Here we go. Okay, I got the doc from a different area. Sometimes we gotta have a couple tricks up our sleeve. Here you go, guys. So take this document, download it, and do what you would like. And deprogramming material. Yeah, I'm absolutely gonna create different deprogrammings around it. I'll have to figure out how to structure it. Lovelight says, cautionary warning about Dreamtime agreements. Are you asking Lovelight? Or are you just letting people know? Yes, Dreamtime has been super active right now. I had a really interesting dream last night. I'm not going to share it, though it speaks to hacking. And that's just something that's been ramping up. I think a lot of us are aware of it. I will also go on. Let me grab the short little video that I created that give you the dream agreements. So this was, and you can get, just by listening to this, you get the idea of the things that you can implement in protection at dream time before you go to sleep, upon awakening, and then just in general. Okay, so you'll start to pay attention to the verbiage. Hey, Ben Stone, thanks from Scotland. I appreciate that. Okay, great. All right. Okay, guys, I love you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I will see you soon. Just making sure I got all the comments. Fabulous. Okay, excellent. And I'll talk to you guys later. Love y'all. Take care. Bye.